This is Dolynny TV. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel today. Glad to have you aboard as we get geared up for hockey season to begin in just a few short days. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, we're climbing closer and closer and closer to that September 1st rollover into the preseason date. And it's my great pleasure to once again be along for the ride with you here going into 23-24. Now, every season on Dolynny TV would not truly be complete without a little bit of a more optimistic video. You know, there's been a lot of negativity around Gary Bettman letting the Canadian team win the Stanley Cup. There's been a lot of negativity about the Oilers goaltending not enabling them to win a Stanley Cup. There's been a lot of negativity all around the Oilers all summer because, again, for another year in a row, they failed to get to the Stanley Cup Finals and potentially win the Stanley Cup. So, with that said, we once again go crazy on it and discuss that beautiful thing that is chasing the Stanley Cup and my reasons why the Edmonton Oilers should be feared across the NHL. This is not why the Oilers will win the Stanley Cup. That is reserved for the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs when we get there, because that's a whole nother conversation you got to have about the regular season first. So when it comes to it, friends, the Oilers, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Darnell Nurse, Matthias Ekholm, Evan Bouchard, Stuart Skinner, the whole crew, they are ready to run it back at least for the next 2 seasons. We'll see some cap increases in the meantime. Things will come together for the Edmonton Oilers over the next few years. And that begs the question, just how much of a menace will they be in the NHL standings in the next 2 seasons? We'll focus primarily on this season because, well, like I said, this is a yearly video, so we have time for another one next year. But I have time to sneeze first, bless me, sorry. All right, anyway, as we get going into this, friends, reminder that anything can happen at any time. So if you are watching this video on playback in January and things have gone sideways, well, I probably couldn't have predicted 6 or 7 of the things that have happened since, so my apologies there. But as we get going here, friends, Connor McDavid is the reason the Edmonton Oilers should be feared across the NHL. And this is not necessarily one of those things, oh, he's going to put up these amount of points, he's going to do this, he's going to score the most goals in the league. That has nothing to do with it. When Connor McDavid wants something, Connor McDavid gets something by way of getting it for himself. Obviously, the past 2 years, he's come up just shy of getting in that big dance to the Stanley Cup Final. I would assume this year, if Connor McDavid wants to make the Stanley Cup Finals, he's going to absolutely hammer out one of the most incredible regular seasons we have ever seen in the history of the NHL. He came close to doing it last season. I believe he will probably do it without a doubt quite earlier and quite better than he did last year. In terms of regular season numbers, in terms of standings, in terms of everything, Connor McDavid is about set as the captain of the Oilers to lead them into what is likely a first-place Pacific Division finish. And, of course, home ice in the playoffs, all the fine and dandy stuff that we like. And, obviously, maybe home ice advantage all throughout the playoffs should the Oilers, under Connor McDavid's leadership, go on to win the Stanley Cup bragging rights in terms of home ice round 1 through 4. Anyway, okay, that's Connor McDavid. That's simply said. Obviously, I think he's everybody's #1 pick, so he had to be mine. Leon Draisaitl and company 2 are up there. Zach Hyman, a man I did not mention, listing off everyone right off the top. I think you've seen 2 career years back-to-back out of him. I think you probably see a 3rd straight from him. So it's in terms of the guys not named Connor McDavid, career production is not done. Nugent-Hopkins, 100 some odd points, I doubt he's done there, right? He finally broke through, and I assume he will break through once again this year. So in terms of where I'm going as to why the Oilers should be feared across the NHL, it's very, very simple, friends. It comes down to a simple message to wrap it all up, right? I kind of ambled on there, but no, it's to wrap it up. The Oilers have all the pieces they need to absolutely dominate the regular season. They were a few points shy of finishing first in the Pacific behind the Vegas Golden Knights, even with Jack Campbell in the .870 save percentage range, even with a rookie goaltender in Stuart Skinner, even with Darnell Nurse being paid $9 million. even with. So at the end of the day, friends, I don't really care what it comes down to, whatever deficiency you think the roster has. This roster is the most formidable Oilers roster we have had going into a regular season in a long time. I feel like I say that every year, but this year is the most truthful I have been with it, because at the end of the day, when it comes to it, friends, the Oilers have not had a Matthias Ekholm. The Oilers have not had Zach Hyman coming off of not one but 2 career seasons. The Oilers have not had the #1 power play, shattering records across the NHL the previous season. The Oilers have Bouchard getting into the early prime of his career, right? It's all coming together for the Edmonton Oilers. So I look forward to being that formidable team that teams across the league fear, simply because we can do anything at any time and absolutely dummy them on the scoreboard, right? When you're talking about pure offense, the Oilers have that in a nutshell when it comes to this roster. And that, friends, is why they should be feared across the NHL. All right. I'm not going to waste much more of your time today. I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. I am up on out of here. But before I head out, whoops, my bad. Make sure, if you're not already, to hit that subscribe button here on Dolynny TV. Love to have you aboard for the rest of the regular season into the playoffs. Let me tell you, the playoff streams were special last year. Love to have you aboard for that. Come on back and we'll catch you soon. Now, I am up on out of here.